Being a great way to save money. Why don't more people live with their parents? Mental stability for a lot of people. Externally speaking, in American culture, if you are still living with your parents, that's seen as you being lazy or unable to take care of yourself. Internally speaking, you live in their house, and that means following their rules. Getting away from your parents can be a big motivator. Don't get me wrong, I love my mom, but I don't think I could stand living with her again. Living with my parents would help me financially but drain me mentally and emotionally. Some people do not have mentally stable parents. Some people do not have parents. My dad is insufferable. I pay $2,500 a month to be away from him. I would imagine most people have a similar reason. For me, personally, I didn't feel like I could truly grow up into a fully independent adult if I was still living under my parents' house and rules. Mine were good parents. They weren't mentally, emotionally, or physically abusive. But it was hard to not still feel like a child if I was living under their roof. They pay rent and the bills and bought the food in the house, so they had a lot of leverage to say, "These are my rules, and if you live in my house you must follow them." They weren't particularly strict rules. I wouldn't have had any kind of a curfew or anything like that. But I still would have felt like a child, and I didn't want that. I felt it was worth it for me to provide for myself to facilitate my own growth into a fully independent adult. Not everyone will feel the same way as me. My younger sister moved out at 18, but moved back in at 21 and lived with my parents until she was almost 30. But for me, I needed to live on my own and provide for myself. My parents are people I can only take in small doses, especially when they are together in the same room. My two young sons still live with me, 22 and 20. It's rough out there for young folks. But they are good young men, they work, they don't drink, and they are taking steps to move forward. My oldest did have a period when he wanted his own place. I helped him look at apartments and went over lease agreements, but it fell through at the end. I have to admit, I went into my den and cried a little when he told me he wanted to move out. Couldn't help it. But they are still with me and are welcome here forever. I am their dad, they are my sons, and I will assist them until the day I die. Adults don't want to live with their parents, and many parents don't want to live with their adult kids. A high number of the people in the age range where this is actually appropriate do live with their parents. When half or a quarter of young adults do live with their parents, questions like this start to be: how dare other people not rigidly march in line with my lifestyle? How can I feel validated if someone, somewhere, isn't 100 exactly like me? The reality is, not everyone's number one priority is saving money in the immediate short term. Their educational, professional, or social needs might be someplace other than where their parents live. They may not share lifestyle goals or values with their parents. They may already have their own grown-up responsibilities, like kids or a partner, that can't be fully conducted from their childhood bedroom. They may not get along with their parents. They may not be welcome to stay. They may in fact have enough money. They may want to learn and experience things that can only be learned once you leave the family home, such as I don't need to twitch out and be confused because someone else likes to live life differently than me. They live hours away from where my fiance and I have established our careers. A lot of people do live with their parents. In some cultures, it's pretty much assumed that you'll live in multi-generational housing. Some reasons why it might not work for some. Not everyone has great relationships with their parents. It's perfectly valid to want to be independent and have your own place to call your own. Parents deserve a break too after 2 decades of raising a child. Past around 24, living with your parents can be a bit tumultuous. If you have a good relationship, then they give you your space and understand what you need as an adult. Most parents will not do that and treat you as a teenager still. My parents are enjoying their retirement in Florida and I would not want to interfere with that. Plus, they live in fucking Florida. There is a stigma around living with your parents after the age of 25. That aside, many people just don't want to. They don't like or get along with their parents, and moving out was a huge milestone in their life. Parents may impose rules that are unrealistic for an adult to follow. Little to no privacy. They may charge rent which is fair, but may not be cheaper than just getting a roommate and splitting rent. On top of already paying rent, they may want to expect them and you do other things that wouldn't be required if you lived on your own. They won't let me. I also enjoy living a life separate from my parents. Personally, I moved out of my folks on bad terms. Our relationship has gotten better, but I've known for a long time that I'd sooner die in the streets starving than ever live with them again. It's part pride, maybe even mostly entirely, but I refuse to ever let them have that power over me again. If it works for you, go for it. Paying rent sucks. Mortgages too. For me, though, I'd rather eat a bowl of broken glass. The good one died. The other one is an asshole, because you pay with your mental health lol. Saving money because my university is within driving distance from their house while I rack up student loan debt for tuition. I don't want the additional debt from renting elsewhere. Do I want to live with my parents at 28? Not really. Do I need to save money? Yes. I've lived alone and with roommates before. This is my second degree and I really miss it, but I enjoy cooking for them and we get along like adults. He'll be out of there this time next year, hopefully to my own flat.